I want to begin with a question. Who would you be if no one had ever taught you to abandon yourself? Not your personality, not the version of you everyone knows, the real you. Before you learned to stay quiet, before you became responsible for everyone else's emotions, before you apologized for having needs, before you confused exhaustion with love, before you believed your worth had to be earned, before you confused compassion for self-sacrifice, before you thought empathy meant tolerating someone's toxic behavior. Here's what I learned after years of healing from trauma. Most people are not suffering because they don't know who they are. They are suffering because the person they truly are disappeared beneath years of survival. Trauma doesn't simply wound you, it trains you. It teaches you who it's safe to be. And eventually, you stop calling it survival. You call it your personality. But what if it isn't? What if anxiety is not who you are? What if people pleasing is not who you are? What if perfectionism, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, overachieving, and constantly abandoning yourself were never your identity? What if they were simply the price you paid to survive? Today, I want to help you remember who you were before survival introduced itself. I am Kat Grace, and I am so glad you are here. Let's dive in. Trauma doesn't just hurt you, it educates you. One of the deepest misunderstandings about trauma is when people believe trauma is simply something painful that happened. It isn't. Trauma becomes this teacher, and it teaches your nervous system, your emotions, your relationships, your body, and eventually your identity. Children are not asking, "Who am I?" They are asking, "Who do I have to become in order to stay connected, in order to stay safe?" Because connection is survival. If being quiet kept you safe, you became quiet. If perfection prevented criticism, you became the overachiever. You had to be perfect. If caring for everyone else prevented chaos, you became the caretaker. If disappearing prevented conflict, you disappeared. Not consciously, automatically, brilliantly. Now, you didn't lose yourself overnight. Little by little, you gave up pieces of yourself in order to survive. I learned at an early age to never question my mother. If I did, her response was typically punitive. I learned to swallow my truth, to minimize my needs, and make myself very small. Crying or expressing pain only made my mother, the bully, more vicious. I learned to have a massive capacity for pain and to bow to a miserable human being in order to survive my childhood. I became the one who never needed anything. Pain and chaos became normalized. Strength and endurance became my identity. Looking back, I wasn't being myself. I was being who survival required. Let that breathe for a moment. Consider the survival self. There is a version of every traumatized person that deserves enormous compassion. That version literally saved your life, protected you, held you when no one else could. The problem isn't that your survival self exists. The problem is it never learned that the danger has ended. So it keeps working in overdrive, even now, even when you are safe, even when you are loved, even when you are protected, even when no one is attacking you. It still scans, it still performs, it still apologizes, it still overthinks, and yes, it still abandons itself. So why does healing feel so strange? Healing feels frightening because survival mistakes change for danger. Your nervous system says, if I stop people pleasing, will I lose love? If I tell the truth, will I be rejected? Will I be attacked? Will I be punished? If I rest, will I become lazy, worthless? If I have boundaries, will I end up alone? Will anyone even like me? That's why healing isn't just psychological. It's physiological. It's relational. It's energetic. It is deeply embodied. So let's discuss the remembering. Healing is not becoming someone new. Healing is remembering the person who existed before fear convinced you they were too much, too sensitive, too emotional, too curious, too joyful, too playful, too honest, too expressive, too alive. You don't create that person. You uncover them. You remember them. I want to leave you with one thought. Please do not hate the version of yourself that trauma created. Do not shame the people pleaser. Don't shame the perfectionist. Don't shame the hypervigilant protector. Do not shame the sin eater, the truth swallower, or the shock absorber. Those parts of you carried burdens that no child should have had to carry. Honor them. Thank them because they got you here. But please, gently let them know they don't have to protect you forever. Today is the beginning of a journey. Over the next several weeks, we're going to uncover every survival strategy trauma taught you. Not so you can become someone else, but so you can finally remember who you have been all along. If you're ready for that journey, subscribe. And in the next chapter of this story, we're going to explore something that really shifts your perspective. You don't have low self-esteem. You have a survival identity. Until next time, namaste.